It was a dark and stormy night when Emily and her family arrived at Willow House. The old mansion had been in Emily's family for generations, and it was her responsibility to restore it to its former glory. But as soon as they stepped inside, Emily felt a sense of unease. There was something about the house that made her skin crawl. Emily's husband, Michael, and their children, Jacob and Lily, were excited to explore their new home. But Emily couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone. As they walked through the house, she heard whispers and footsteps, even though no one was there. She tried to brush it off as her imagination, but the feeling persisted. The next day, Emily hired a team of contractors to begin renovations on the house. As they tore down walls and pulled up floorboards, strange things started to happen. Tools would go missing, and strange symbols would appear on the walls. The workers would report seeing shadows and hearing strange noises when they were alone in the house. Emily tried to ignore their stories, but she couldn't deny the fact that the house was beginning to feel more and more haunted. She decided to do some research on the history of the house, hoping to uncover some clues about what was going on. What she found shocked her. Willow House had a dark past, one that Emily had never known about. In the early 1800s, the house had been owned by a wealthy family who had made their fortune through slave labor. The family had been cruel to their slaves, often beating them and even killing them. Legend had it that the ghosts of those slaves still haunted the house to this day. Emily was horrified by what she had learned, and she began to wonder if the strange occurrences in the house were the work of vengeful spirits. She tried to convince her family to leave, but they refused. They had fallen in love with the house and refused to let a few ghosts scare them away. As the renovations continued, the hauntings grew more intense. Emily would wake up in the middle of the night to find the ghostly figure of a slave standing at the foot of her bed. Jacob and Lily would tell their parents about the voices they heard whispering to them in the darkness. Emily knew that she had to do something to put the ghosts to rest. She hired a team of paranormal investigators to come to the house and try to communicate with the spirits. The team set up cameras and recording equipment throughout the house, hoping to capture evidence of the supernatural. For weeks, they worked tirelessly, trying to make contact with the ghosts that haunted the house. But every time they thought they were getting close, something would happen to disrupt their progress. Equipment would malfunction, or the ghosts would refuse to communicate. One night, as Emily and her family were sitting in the living room, they heard a loud banging coming from upstairs. They rushed up to investigate and found that the door to the attic had been opened. Emily had never been up to the attic before, and she was hesitant to go inside. But she knew that if she wanted to put an end to the hauntings, she had to face her fears. As she climbed the stairs, she could hear the sounds of chains clinking and the whispers of ghostly voices. When she reached the top, she found herself in a small room filled with old trunks and furniture. In the corner of the room, she saw the ghostly figure of a young girl. Emily approached the ghost, hoping to communicate with her. But as she got closer, the ghostly figure began to fade away. Emily felt a sudden chill run down her spine, and she realized that the ghost was not trying to communicate with her, but was trying to warn her. Emily rushed back downstairs and found her family waiting for her. They could see the fear in her eyes and knew that something was wrong. Emily explained what had happened in the attic, and they all agreed that it was time to leave the house. As they packed up their belongings and prepared to leave, the paranormal investigators approached Emily with some shocking news. They had reviewed the footage from their investigation and had discovered something that they couldn't explain. In one of the recordings, they had captured the image of a ghostly figure walking through the house. The figure was that of a young girl, the same one that Emily had seen in the attic. The investigators believed that the girl was trying to communicate with them, but something was preventing her from doing so. Emily and her family left Willow House that night, never to return again. They sold the house to a paranormal research organization, who would continue to investigate the hauntings and try to put the ghosts to rest. Years later, Emily returned to Willow House, this time as a member of the paranormal research team. She had never forgotten the experiences she had there, and she wanted to help put the ghosts to rest once and for all. As she walked through the house, she could feel the presence of the ghosts all around her. But this time, she wasn't afraid. She knew that she had the power to help them move on. Over the course of several months, Emily and her team worked tirelessly to communicate with the ghosts and help them find peace. They performed rituals and ceremonies, and even enlisted the help of a psychic medium. Finally, after months of work, they were able to put the ghosts to rest. Emily stood outside the house, watching as the spirits disappeared into the ether. She knew that they were finally at peace, and she felt a sense of satisfaction that she had been able to help them find closure. As she drove away from Willow House, Emily couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness. The house held so many memories for her, both good and bad. But she knew that it was time to move on, to leave the ghosts of her past behind and embrace the future. And so, the Haunting of Willow House came to an end. The house still stood, a testament to the past and a reminder of the ghosts that had once haunted it. But now, it was a place of peace and healing, a place where the spirits could finally rest.